ready, Dan? Okay, Karen.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, everyone. We will go ahead and get started. A copy of the Open Meetings Act is located on the table outside as well as on our website. There is also an automatic external defibrillator available on the back wall of the legislative chambers. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll begin with the agenda for the Douglas County Board of Equalization. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Boyle? Commissioner Kavanaugh is absent. Commissioner Friend? Here. Commissioner Garcia? Commissioner Morgan? Commissioner Rogers? Madam Chair.
Present. Item A, approval of the minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held Tuesday, November 21st, 2023. And item B, call for a meeting and set Tuesday, December 12th, 2023 as a date for hearing on certified assessment corrections reflecting the addition of omitted property to the tax rolls or increased value on property. Is there a motion to approve A and B?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Friend. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Citizen comments. Is there anyone in the chamber or on Zoom wishing to speak to the Board of Equalization about an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we will move to resolutions. Resolutions D through H. There is no need for executive session, so the motion could include adjournment.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Friend. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes, however, Commissioner Morgan, I believe. Okay. That's okay. So motion passes, Commissioner, for the record, Commissioner Morgan is abstaining. All other commissioners voting yes.
We'll move to the agenda for the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. Roll call, please.
Excuse me, Commissioner Boyle. Thank you. Commissioner Kavanaugh is absent. Commissioner Friend?
Here.
Commissioner Garcia? Commissioner Morgan? Commissioner Rogers? Madam Chair.
Present. Item A, approval of the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held Tuesday, November 21st, 2023. Item B, approval of claims submitted for payment processed through Tuesday, December 5th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve A and B?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Friend. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Next is our consent agenda, items A through J. Is there a motion to approve?
Madam Chair,
Mm-hmm.
amend that to approve B through J. I need to abstain.
Okay. B through J, and we'll take A up separately. Motion by Commissioner Rogers, second by Commissioner Morgan. Please vote.
Give me one moment, please, commissioners. Okay, and just, I know if you have the agenda in front of you, obviously you saw H was stricken, but so B through J1 less H. And I am starting the vote now. Thank you, commissioners. And Commissioner Morgan. Motion passes 6-0.
We'll go back to item A. Is there a motion to approve item A?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Boyle, second by Commissioner Morgan. Any questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes. Commissioner Rogers abstaining, all other commissioners voting yes.
Next, we have 2 proclamations and recognitions. We are going to recognize county employee on his retirement, Stephen Amweg, who worked for the Douglas County Department of Corrections for 24 years, and Mark Swoboda, who worked for the Douglas County Department for Corrections for 21 years. I do not believe they are in attendance today. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Boyle, second by Commissioner Friend. We do want to wish them a happy retirement and thank them for their service to Douglas County. Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Next is citizen comments. Anyone in the chamber or on Zoom wishing to speak to the Board of Commissioners about an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we will move to our public hearings. The first is a request to amend the future land use map to extend the mixed-use designation along West Center Road corridor east to the extraterritorial jurisdiction line. And with us today is Laura Dietrich from our Environmental Services to give us a briefing on this. This is the public hearing.
Come on. Thank you.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Commissioners. Laura Dietrich, Planning and Zoning Coordinator. So I have several items on your public agenda this morning. We're going to start with the amendment of the future land use map. There we go. So these first 3 items all kind of relate to each other and build on each other. So I want to offer some background context to this. Earlier this year, when we updated our landscaping regulations, it moved garden centers out of ag into mixed use. We have a specific parcel along this corridor here that affected. We wanted to be proactive about this and amend the future land use map to allow for this business to continue. So what you're seeing now is, what you're seeing now is the West Center corridor. This is about 260th to 264th in West Center. The green designation is ag. The lighter color is rural residential, and the pinkish purplish color that you're seeing is mixed use. So that's as it exists today. And this is our future land use map. So you'll see that mixed use designation has moved slightly. And then what we are proposing to do is to extend that mixed use designation from the camper storage center east to the ETJ with the city of Omaha. And that's the part that's kind of in the greenish bluish color there. That's where we would like to extend that mixed use designation to. Planning Commission heard this at their November 15th meeting and recommended approval. I am happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Laura.
Yes.
Commissioner Boyle?
Just a question as to what impact will that have on any future development? So what's the purpose and what impact will that have?
It won't have what we're trying to do is be proactive with this designation. So it won't necessarily change or have a huge impact on that whole area, but it will allow for this business to continue.
So this business is being grandfathered in because it didn't fit the qualifications of the new provisions of how the property is designated?
It doesn't fit right now. It does not fit with the designation. So we want to extend that mixed use. And then what we'll do with that parcel that it does affect is ask for a rezone. And that's my second item on your hearing. That we will ask for a rezone of that specific property to also go to mixed use to allow them to continue to run their business. Mm-hmm. And then it will require a special use permit as well, right, which is also on the agenda. Did I answer that question for you?
You did.
Okay.
Thanks.
Commissioner Friend?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you may have said this, and
yeah.
How did you find this? Did your staff know that we were, after all of these things that were happening, did you guys find this? Or did the landowner, just for out of curiosity?
A little bit of both. So when we updated these landscaping regulations earlier in the year, we did
Right.
want to get those businesses into compliance. And we did know that at that time, moving garden centers out of ag would affect this parcel.
Okay, good. So how many more of these do we anticipate because of the changes that we made, 5 months ago, right?
As of right now, the way things stand, I don't anticipate more.
Not that it would be an issue that there was, but I'm just wondering how busy you guys are.
We're
with
so
this right now.
busy.
Okay.
No. As of right now, I don't foresee a lot more. This is one specific instance.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, this is the public hearing on item A. Is there anyone wishing to speak for or against this item?
Okay.
Is that okay? Yeah, thank
This is Jim Lang.
you. Members of the county board, my name is Jim Lang. I'm an attorney at 8526 F Street. I represent the applicant here, NSL LLC. Does work under the name of DMS Landscaping. You may have seen his trucks around, and they do a lot of landscaping work from the standpoint of commercial landscaping, various offices and things like that. The principal in NSL is Nate Spoon. Nate is with me today. He's been operating at this site since 2006. And so when it was ag zoned, this was a permitted use. Garden centers are permitted use under the supplemental regulations of ag. 5 months ago, the county is changing that, taking the garden centers out of ag, putting the garden centers in mixed use with a special use permit. So we're now here just to conform to the existing or the new zoning with the new special use permit. But we are legal and proper where we're at right now, and we have been since 2006. We support this action by the board. If you have any questions, Nate and I are here, and we're happy to answer those.
Thank you.
Good to see you,
No
Jim.
other questions or comments? This is the public hearing. Anyone else wishing to speak on item A? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing on item A. What is the will of the board? Motion by Commissioner Morgan, second by Commissioner Boyle. Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next is item B. This is the public hearing for a rezone from ag to mixed use of property located at 26020 West Center Road. And as you heard from Laura, these are kind of all intertwined, but did you want to add anything else on item B?
I'll just give a brief explanation again. Laura Dietrich, Planning and Zoning Coordinator. We are requesting to rezone this specific parcel from ag to mixed use to allow him to get a special use permit to continue to run his business. Like Jim said earlier, he is legal non-conforming right now. We are just going to make him legal conforming by the time we're done here today. I am happy to answer any questions you might have. The Planning Commission did recommend approval at their November 15th meeting.
All right, this is the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak for or against this item?
Once again, Jim Lang, 8526 F Street, representing the applicant. We are in favor of this action.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. What is the will of the board? Motion by Commissioner Morgan, second by Commissioner Boyle. Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
And item C, public hearing, is a special use permit to operate a garden center on the property located at 26020 West Center Road. And again, if you have anything else to add, Laura, to this public, okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against?
Once again, Jim Lang, the applicant, we are for this.
Okay, thank you. With that, anyone else wishing to speak for or against item C? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. What is the will of the board?
Move for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Morgan, second by Commissioner Boyle. Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right, thank you, and thanks for being with us
Thank you very
today.
much.
Thank you,
Nate's here with,
Commissioners.
right here, Nate Spoon here, so we appreciate your assistance on this.
I didn't realize it was since 2006 that you've been there, but thank you for your business here in Western Douglas County. Appreciate it.
The opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Item D is the public hearing clarifying the administration of state statute 77-132 and 23-17403 for the purposes of subdivision and taxing districts. This is the public hearing. Laura? Or Ken?
Good morning, Commissioners. Kent Holm, Environmental Services Director. So for this particular item, it is a little bit more complicated and unique than what we normally would bring you. But it came to our attention a number of months ago. We had a landowner that contacted us and had, from his understanding, 2 different parcels on this particular tract of land. And after some research, what we found out was that there was a taxing district split in this parcel. And so there were 2, essentially from his standpoint, there were 2 different parcels there because he was getting 2 different tax statements because it was into, I think, school district, I believe. So 2 different school districts here. He's got 1 parcel that got split into 2 per the one state statute, which I believe is 77-132. And we had some conversations with Mike Goodwillie in the Assessor's Register of Deeds office, and finally figured out, oh, okay, that's what's happening. From a zoning standpoint, the landowner wanted to be able to sell off the 1 parcel, and he wanted just assurance from us that we'd be able to issue a building permit on that. From our standpoint, from a zoning standpoint, we're looking at this as it's 1 parcel. And so our answer to him was, no, we can't issue a building permit on that because we're not recognizing that from a zoning standpoint. So what we were attempting to do there, and with the help of the county attorney's office, was to fashion a resolution to be able to just to say, here's the reality of what's happening. We've got 2 different pieces of land here that were split basically administratively per the 77-132 statute, and recognizing the fact that, okay, we will now, even though it doesn't fit with the zoning statute of 23-17403, we will recognize this because that landowner is inconvenienced for no fault of his own, but this was a taxing district thing. So all that explanation had we've had some further discussions with Teresa in the county attorney's office. They would like to tweak the resolution a little bit just to make sure that we are addressing it in the appropriate way that minimizes the amount of potential county liability going forward. So what we're asking then is if you could not finish the public hearing today, but continue it for another 2 weeks, and we'll come back on what I believe the 19th, and we can finish that up. We'll have a chance to address that particular liability issue and kind of resolve this so that we can then respond back to the landowner and have them in a position where that landowner can sell the property with the assurance that we'll be able to issue a building permit on that other piece.
Okay.
So apologize for the rather lengthy diatribe there, but that's the context of all this, and thankfully we don't have this type of thing happen very often, but that's what transpired here.
So for a messy issue, you explained it very well.
Thank you.
So with that, this is the public hearing. Is there anyone here today that would like to speak during this public hearing? Otherwise, can we have a motion to continue this public hearing until December 19th? Motion by Commissioner Morgan, seconded by Commissioner Boyle. Please vote.
One moment, please. Okay, thank you, Commissioners. Motion passes 7-0.
Next, we'll move
Thank
on
you.
to, thank you, Laura. Next, we'll move on to committees, the finance budget report as presented. And then we do have an ARPA funding request, approval of resolution authorizing the award of $50,000 to Heartland Hope Mission. This is out of Commissioner Kavanaugh's allocation. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Morgan, seconded by Commissioner Friend. Any further questions or comments? Please vote, or Commissioner Kavanaugh?
For your support on this. It will be put to good use over the holidays to make sure that everybody has adequate food during the holiday season. So thank you.
Please vote.
Motion passes 7-0.
We will move to Health and Human Services. Item 1, a resolution authorizing the county board to approve, ratify, and adopt the Department of General Assistance guidelines as amended effective January 1, 2024. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Morgan, second by Commissioner Friend. Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning. Melissa Sewick, Director of General Assistance. I'm just here if there's any questions or anything like that.
Okay. Commissioner Rogers?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I haven't talked, Melissa and I kind of talked to get an idea based on the conversation that happened a couple of weeks ago. And inquiring how to get where I wanted to get to. I had brought up that, a question to her about the possibility of the housing being raised to 900. After that conversation with her, I agree with her analysis on that because of just the lack of affordable housing opportunities there, people that we're serving aren't on list anyway, and we could raise that and it wouldn't make a difference. But also, if we raised it, people would just raise it up, and that wouldn't so much make available more quality housing. So after conversation with her, what I'd like to recommend to the board is she recommended an increase from the standard housing deduction from 150 to 200. What I'd like to do is amend that to 300. And after some analysis and some conversation with her, she thought that could be absorbed in her budget for the remaining of the year. But what it would do is free up $100 of new money for participants to be able to use. So instead of putting that $100 there into the housing piece, you would increase the deduction that would allow it to be more flexibility and allow them more revenue to some degree. We did have a discussion about, the cost of things now, the increase, but the main piece is that she didn't think her budget would be able to absorb it. Our hope is that if the board agrees to do this, that we can look at it with this gradual increase and see what the response is and see if this helps in some regard, and hopefully the next time the guidelines come, see if that adjustment helps and it may be worthy of more increase. So hopefully I get a second for this to consider, but my motion would be to amend the standard housing deduction from a $50 increase to a 150 increase, which would take it from 200 to, from 150 to 300.
Okay. Any further questions or comments on the amendment? Commissioner Kavanaugh?
We had some discussion last time when this came up regarding the HUD level of funding that the increase wouldn't quite meet. Does this put it at the HUD level of funding that we discussed last week?
It does not. This does not affect the maximum rent assistance we can provide. What this would do is increase the standard housing deduction, so it would be increasing the amount of money that we would be exempting that the clients would be earning. It does affect the budget. It potentially would affect the budget because whatever we'd be exempting, then we would be responsible for paying. the general assistance would be. So it does not, the money wouldn't go into the landlords necessarily in raising that to 900. It just gives the clients more flexibility and discretionary income.
How does that work?
So right now, as of like the current guidelines, they get $150 standard housing deduction. So and this is typically going to affect clients that are donating plasma, donating cans, working a temp job, a day or two. So when they're reporting that they have income, $150 of that would be exempt, where we're not counting that basically against their assistance. I do have a table that I provided Commissioner Rogers that would it be? Oh. So this right here shows the 2022-2023 guidelines, and then I have some projections based on the proposed guidelines. So the first one, we're talking about this, if a client would be reporting that they earn $600, and we went with the standard housing deduction that I'm recommending, which is $200. They have a total non-exempt income of $400. If the rent increase is approved to be $800, so then that'd be the maximum assistance that they could potentially get from us, minus the $400, which is the total non-exempt income. And so the maximum shelter allowance that they would be eligible for would be $400. So if they have a rental obligation of $800, we would be responsible for $800 or $400, and then they would be responsible for $400. So, and then you can kind of see that same example based on if we would be increasing that standard housing deduction, how that would play out. So there is going to be a financial impact if we would raise it to that $300. And that would be potentially going from the $200 to the $300, potentially $1,200 of assistance we'd be providing to a single individual that they wouldn't be getting under the $200 increase, or the raising it to $200.
So the maximum shelter allowance is $250 right now. Is that right? I'm reading off this.
No. Well, under our current guidelines, yes, because that is looking at the maximum shelter that we can pay is $700. So the figures kind of change. So looking at the effects of our guideline that we're proposing, this line right here is what I'm proposing. And then this would be under if we would raise the standard housing deduction to $300. And then it was thrown out at one point to raise it to $500, and just showing kind of like the difference in what the county would be able to provide to that person.
Okay. So the HUD standard is what on this graph?
This graph, the HUD standard doesn't apply to this. The HUD standard is just specific to rent. And so the fair market, according to HUD for 2024,
and
is
what amount of dollars is that?
$895 for 2024.
And what amount of dollars are you recommending?
I am continuing to recommend $800.
Say again.
$800.
Okay. So the HUD guidelines are
One minute.
$895.
And you're recommending 8.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Boyle?
Yep, so that, I was gonna ask similar questions, but do you feel is the total budget impact? So what do we have to reconsider as far as the total budget impact for your department?
I'm already over budget with my rental account, my rent assistance account. We have an increase of clients, so not even taking into account, let's say we keep our rent at $700, my projections we're going to continue to be over. And I have that information as well. So we do, as Commissioner Kavanaugh has stated a few times, that there is money that we have returned at the end of the fiscal year. So we, even just with increasing the standard housing deduction, I could probably get by for the next 6 months. What does the next fiscal year look like? We're anticipating our clients to continue to increase based on the federal funds that are expiring, and also seeing kind of what the economy is doing. So without any increases, keeping our guidelines how they are today, it's going to be tight. So I don't see the returning a lot of funds. And so I'm going to have to pull from other accounts. And most likely, I don't see how I wouldn't need to request more funding for next fiscal year.
And again, do you have an estimate as the dollar amount? So in other words, number of clients you serve versus the increase in this? So just in general, I have not much of an idea.
I'm anticipating just for the next 6 months that it's going to be probably about a $250,000 increase potentially of what we would be paying in rent. And then that obviously for a full year of potentially paying $100 more, that would increase it to just under $500,000. And it's really hard. It's really hard for us to predict the number of clients, but also if we have just under 500 clients that are approved on our program, so that doesn't include the people that are pending as of yesterday. If we paid $700 rent on all of those folks, it would be just under $4 million we'd be talking about a year. So we have a lot of folks that just can't find the housing. We have some people that have a Section 8 voucher, so we're only going to be paying $50. So we count on those things. But kind of worst case scenario, as far as budget-wise, if all the clients that are here today get rent assistance and can find a place, which would be amazing, it's almost $4 million that we're talking about. So I think that's why I'm hesitant to sign on to like raising it to $900 or like increasing the standard housing deduction, just because we don't know with our clientele. And that's a lot of times when we're returning money, it's because we don't know. And just looking at how many clients we have isn't a good predictor to see how many of them are going to be housed and what that housing situation looks like.
Okay, so potentially it could be asking for a $250,000 increase in your budget for not this next 6 months, but the following.
Oh, for the following, it would be about $500,000. Yes.
Okay, and just, I'm just asking I agree with what you're saying. At the same time, the financial impact, if we did not increase as per the amendment, it's not going to be a financial impact. It's more of a personal impact, I'm assuming, on the client.
It would still be a financial impact because it would be funds that the county would still be responsible. So it's not money going directly to the landlord. It would be money that the client can have like $100 extra in their pocket, whereas like now they would have to be expected to put that portion towards their rental assistance.
Okay, so this is helping put more money in the client's pocket.
Yes, but it is going to cost us as well.
Cost us.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, all right, thank you.
Commissioner Kavanaugh?
So share this with us electronically, please. What we might want to do is come back in the normal course of the budget cycle in 6 months and see where we are after. I think the winter has a tendency to maybe increase need a little bit, so that we can adjust going forward if we need to in mid-cycle if the demand is there. If I understand you, if everybody qualified for the max, it would precipitate an increase over what is anticipated, but everybody won't qualify for the max. Isn't that historically pretty certain?
Everybody will qualify for the max. It's depending on what standard housing deduction we would decrease, so how much money they would have exempt. But everybody, when they're approved, there's that max shelter assistance. So if they find a place that is less expensive, or if they have a voucher of some kind, that would be where we are not paying as much, or if it's like a roommate situation. But all of those clients are eligible for the max benefit.
Okay. So, what we want to make sure of is that, we serve as many people as possible, and that we address this, ongoing turnback at the end of the year, which I think last week when we discussed this, the figures that we had was about $800,000 on average over the last 10 years. So if there's increased need, we want to meet it rather than turn back the appropriated amounts each year. So that's probably what we need to come back on. And I think that would be best done probably in about 6 months to see where we are. It's just troubling that, we are turning back money and yet the need seems to be increasing, and there should be something that we can do maybe to address that. The idea that, we need to increase funding is difficult to get your head around when each and every year there's a turnback, and like I said, averaging about $800,000 a year over the last 10 years. These are turnbacks that are unencumbered, and so it's not like we're delaying them, putting them over for another year. And if we need to reassess this so that we can reallocate already approved budget amounts, that's something that probably should be done, in mid-cycle, so that this time next year we're not looking at a situation where, like last year, we had a turnback of already appropriated funds. I think this is probably something that maybe the Finance Committee could do most appropriately when they hold hearings on the general assistance budget itself, to see where we are, to kind of address a troubling, I guess it's just chronic because it's gone on for so long, situation where we take limited resources and we put them in a budget to serve very needy portion of our population, and yet apparently the resources aren't entirely used. And one place where we might be able to reallocate this is to take another look at the HUD recommended dollar amount, which isn't that much above where we're going on this recommendation. I think it was the difference between 800 and 895, if I understood the testimony here this morning. So that's a possible area where we could use some of these unutilized funds, so that we're not in a position at the end of the year of turning back funds and at the same time not meeting the HUD recommended guidelines of $895. It seems to me that you can have one or the other. You can't have both. And so I'm just saying that we need to utilize available resources for the eligible community